It's just one of those really special shows that shows what you can do when it comes to adapting video games. We're in a place right now, a really nice place where, we can expect video game adaptations to actually be good. And they're no longer going to be, there'll no longer be a consistent sense of mediocrity or terribleness surrounding video game adaptations now. And, Arcane is, I think, just one of those shining examples of what you can do with the medium, adapting it, whether it be in an animated format or live action format. We've getting a lot of great stuff, and it's just really fulfilling. So no more of this garbage, all right? No more crap like, Uncharted or Monster Hunter or anything, any of these other, video game adaptations that we sometimes begin. Tomb Raider, it's like, no, we want quality stuff because it's proven. Let's go ahead and move on to my latest review for Arcane Season 2, Act 2. So, obviously, I've been saying for years now, Arcane is simply one of my favorite shows of the 2020s. Of course, for those that don't know, it's an adaptation of League of Legends, the extremely popular MOBA game. I have little experience with the game. Or the characters prior to watching Arcane. Might have played a little bit of it way back in the day in the 2010s at like a convention or something like that. But what's so amazing about this particular adaptation, this animated adaptation, I don't feel like I'm missing anything or feel like something is being neglected in this specific adaptation, because the series, at least so far, including the first season and these latest 6 episodes, I think it's just been impeccably written, featuring just wonderful characters in a rich science fiction, steampunk, fantasy, universe and world. The series, as I said before, is simply a masterpiece, and I've continued to enjoy it well into season 2 at this point. Now, I really liked the first act and how it dealt with the fallout of Jinx's attack on the Piltover Council, led to many deaths. Tensions are rising even more. But personally, I think Act 2 is even better because it gets a bit more intimate with the characters, right? A little more personable, as well. Before what I expect will be a huge bombastic finish involving many of the surviving players in this war between these two cities. Not to say that there wasn't some of that obviously in Act 1. Of course there was, but there was just so much, focused on just Jinx's actions in those first 3 episodes, showcase some beautiful animations, some great battles, but I think I just like these latest 3 episodes just more because we have some of those action scenes, of course, but they were a little more intimate. And we got to have like these really nice conversations between some of these characters who haven't been able to talk to each other in a while. And I think that's a good thing. Get to the emotional core, right, of what defines these people and, pulls on our heartstrings. And then having them ripped out and left to anticipate, dread, and welcome the upcoming finale, those final 3 episodes. And again, as I've been saying, the animation, the story, the world building, the characters, the emotional weight with them, the action sequences, the sound design, the voice acting, it's all superb. There's nothing that feels particularly weak at this point, It's just one of those really special shows that shows what you can do when it comes to adapting video games. We're in a place right now, a really nice place where, we can expect video game adaptations to actually be good. And they're no longer going to be, there'll no longer be a consistent sense of mediocrity or terribleness surrounding video game adaptations now. And, Arcane is, I think, just one of those shining examples of what you can do with the medium, adapting it, whether it be in an animated format or live action format. We've getting a lot of great stuff, and it's just really fulfilling. So no more of this garbage, all right? No more crap like, Uncharted or Monster Hunter or anything, any of these other, video game adaptations that we sometimes begin. Tomb Raider, it's like, no, we want quality stuff because it's proven. All right, when you put it in the hands of people that actually care, that respect and love the property, and they got a lot of other talented people involved to execute their vision. It's just been great. And I'm saying this as someone who, of course, is a fan of many video games and many video game series and titles, but I have little experience of Arcane, and it does a great thing in that you don't have to be a huge fan of League of Legends to get into it, because the story is being told so incredibly well. And for all I know, it seems to also be appeasing League of Legends fans, and they seem to like it a lot. So it's pretty much just a win-win across the board for everybody involved. It's just been so great. And moving on to these specific 3 episodes, is kind of dealing with the fallout involving Caitlyn being put into a position of power and Piltover, for all intents and purposes, becoming a dictator. With the Madara. With Mbessa Madara's military forces at her back to seemingly not only kill Jinx, but put down this growing rebellion in the city of Zaun. We have all that being a major factor in these latest 3 episodes. At the same time, we have everything that's going on between Violet and Jinx, and how they seem to be going on these very disparate paths, with the case of Violet, with her, at least initially, her relationship with Caitlyn kind of coming to an end. And her dealing with that in a very unhealthy way, drinking, cage arena fighting, indulging illicit substances, getting her ass kicked every night, and then downing herself, drinking herself, and with some into a stupor. Hasn't been great for her. At the same time, we have Jinx, who I've been very surprised what they've been doing with Jinx this season. I did not expect her to be pushed into. I mean, she is very much being pushed to become a revolutionary esque leader. Beforehand, she was just this traumatic person that has undergone just so much trauma and is like, the daughter / henchwoman of Silco, and she seems just to be a firecracker, a wild card constantly, but to see her take on like a leadership role and a more maternal role, a more sisterly role throughout the show with this little girl that she pretty much adopts for all intents and purposes, and we see more of her humanity. That I did not expect, and I thought that how they've been handling that has been absolutely fantastic. And then you just have, I guess the major scientists involved throughout this entire series so far, namely Jace, who apparently has been going through the ringer recently. I want to talk more about that in a bit when I get to my spoiler section here. But we see more with Victor as well. And this kind of idyllic utopian society that he has set up beneath the city that is Zaun in the slums, and how it's incredibly idyllic and seems to be really healthy and great for all intensive purposes. That's something interesting. And then you just have the everything else of the Madaras too. Like, obviously you have Mbessa Madara, her pulling all the strings behind the scenes, being a very nefarious figure, seemingly getting more and more control over Caitlyn. But then you also have Mel. That's the one plot line, where are we going with this one? With Mel being kidnapped by this evil organization, the organization of the roses, the flower people. I'm like, how's this going to play in everything? I'm very curious about that. And they continue on with that storyline in these episodes, and I'm just waiting to see how is this all going to culminate in these 3 final episodes. That's my one concern is are they able to stick the landing with all of this? Will they be able to tie everything together, to give us a really satisfying finale? It doesn't feel rushed or doesn't feel like they weren't able to think of everything. That's the one. But I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will, because they've proven time and time again that they seem to know what they're doing. And I think it would be shocking if they are not able to land this thing, to stick the landing, which I'm sure. And then there's the werewolf of it all in these first 3 episodes, which probably is one of my favorite aspects of Act 2. And in order to get into more details about that, I have to move on to spoilers. We got to go to the spoiler section now. So be warned, be warned. We're going to talk about spoilers right now, okay? All right, so don't get upset if you hear something, if you see something right in the chat or anything like that. Spoilers are happening. So I think the through line for this particular act, for these 3 episodes, is the character of Warwick, who we learn is this werewolf abomination created by Singed, right? And we've kind of learning more about his whole deal, where he's this expert, chemist and an alchemist, and has been able to create all these concoctions and inventions and things in order to, I guess, for all intents and purposes, cure death, cure his dying daughter. And he's been doing all these different experiments to find out how to do so. But in the process of doing this, he has created this werewolf abomination, this creature, who we've come to learn is actually Vander, who we were led to believe died during season 1, and perhaps truly did die, but has been resurrected as this creature, as this beast, Warwick, I believe. Correct me if I'm mispronouncing his name. The werewolf guy. But basically, it's Vander. And how he's just so aggressive and deadly and able to decimate the forces of Piltover and things. Like, his introduction into this, in these 3 episodes, I thought was fantastic. Because it kind of all, like, some of the first episodes of Act 2 revolves around Jinx having to rescue pretty much like her adopted sister at this point, her adopted little sister, and some other people who have kind of done themselves up in her image, kind of leading this rebellion against Piltover. She basically, along with some other characters, does a prison break. And she ends up encountering Singe's werewolf abomination creature, which she recognizes like, oh, holy shit, this is Vander. This is Vander. And this then causes her to pursue Vi, who is not doing well. As I said, she's drowning her woes in the bottom of a bottle right now. She's a cage fighter. She's, an arena fighter. Caitlyn, her cupcake, broke up with her in a pretty dramatic fashion. She's not handling that. She changed her whole hairstyle. She got like pink highlights, but it's all black hair. I love her look, by the way. Her look is fucking fantastic. It's really good. Again, the aesthetics across the show are like all in the 9s. It's amazing, to the 9s. And this then really truly forces Jinx and Vi to like have an honest to God conversation with each other. And it's like the middle episode where they have to work together along with Jinx's little adopted sister to find Vander, basically, and reunite their family, fix their family to whatever degree that they can. And it actually takes them into even deeper into the bowels of Zaun, where Vander and Silco initially were leading this kind of resistance movement, this movement to free themselves from the tyranny of Piltover. Basically, we learn more about Vander and Silco's relationship. We learn more about Violet and Jinx's Powder's mother. In a flashback scene, how Powder and Vi's mother knew Silco and Vander, and they were all great friends. Wonderful flashback sequence. I'm glad they've been able to bring back these original voice actors who voiced Vander, who voiced Silco. I thought that was great. And it kind of all culminates after a wonderful just action sequence in these tunnels, and you have to illuminate the entire area underground. Like they're like these glowing mushrooms or fungus, but you have to like clap, and they all light up and stuff. And apparently you can eat them too. I think. Jinx says, "I think they're edible," and she stuffs her face with them. But leads to a great episode, and then we get into like kind of the finale of Act 2, where we finally start to see what Victor's commune is like, his idyllic utopian city, who's been able to help all. He's basically Arcane Jesus, chat. That's what he is. He's Arcane Jesus, and he has his entire flock. He has all these people. Some would say it's a cult. Some would say he's a cult leader and everything. And he's been able to cure all these people that have been suffering from the shimmer addiction, who had all these, just gross bullshit on their faces. He's been able to do all that. And, he welcomes, Jinx, and he welcomes Vi and Vander, trying to find Vander within this monster, within this creature. Of course, Caitlyn and the Madaras learn of this, happening, and they want Vander because they think, he wiped out their forces, he's incredibly strong. They want to be able to exploit that, use it for their own nefarious purposes, right? And this leads into, conflict with Victor's commune. And then you just have the Jace of it all, who is just the fucking wrench thrown into all this, where the last time we saw him in Act 1, him and Echo and Herman, they were all just hanging out, looking at the arcane core that Jace and Victor had created. But then it's like mutated now, and it's gross, and there's body horror and shit. And he suddenly appears, and now he's back, but it looks like he's aged. He has a full beard, and he's crazy. And he's like, I got one thing on my mind, and that's killing Victor, right? And he seemingly does just that. Those followers, I don't know what the hell they let this crazy man in here, this giant, weird-looking body horror hammer, just had him freely walk around. I would not have done that. Take him to Victor, blasting poor Victor. But again, we don't know. Like, I wonder, because Jace is so... I think we're going to in the next act, probably the first episode of Act 3, we're going to find out where Jace has been, why he's aged so much, why he's acting the way he is, why he killed Victor. It's seemingly all connected with this arcane technology, and how, even though what Victor has done is incredible, helping all these people, there has to be something else, to it. There's probably a nefarious aspect that we are unaware of. And so I'm very excited how they're going to just deal with all these things in the next few episodes. And it ends in a really impactful way, where you have basically Jinx's, little adopted sister seemingly sacrificing herself, seemingly killing Vander, who has gone absolutely insane after the death of Victor, and causing all this chaos, this open war, and this, seemingly utopian and commune. I don't know. There's a lot of storylines. I'm curious how they're going to eventually wrap up, and how they're gonna, close these characters' stories. It's a lot. It's a huge task to do in 3 episodes. And again, these episodes are not like 25 minutes, not 3 minutes. They're typically between like 40 and 50, and maybe the next couple will be a little bit longer. I have to admit, though, I'm a little nervous, and I maybe I shouldn't be, because they've just done such a great job. But I can't help but be a little nervous and thinking, like, are you be able to stick this landing here? I'm sure they will. But maybe it's good to set reasonable expectation. But still, I think these next 3 episodes, these latest 3 episodes have been great. Love the more the character focus. Love the stuff they did with Vander. I'm here to see what's the deal with Victor and Jace, and why they did what they did, and just how this series is going to end. But what about you guys? How do you feel about Arcane Season 2 so far? How do you feel about these latest 3 episodes? Did you like as much as I did? Were you more mixed on them? Did you downright hate it? Do you just not like Arcane? Do you not even get the hype behind Arcane? Let me know. What about you, chap? How do you feel about Arcane Season 2, Act 2, and just Arcane in general? I think the show has just been absolutely fantastic so far. I've just enjoyed it so much. I'm just not sick of this animation style too. I just love this kind of 2.5D and how they play around with like 2D animation in it, especially for all the smoke and stuff. Oh, it's so wonderful. It's so crazy. It's really good. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. And I again, even if you have no experience with League of Legends, that's totally okay, because I barely had any experience with League of Legends. I didn't know any of the characters. May recognize a couple, like, oh yeah, I've seen that person before, or whatever. But you can go in completely blind and just enjoy so much about it. It's incredibly well crafted, incredibly well done. So yeah, could not recommend it more.